Hi everyone, welcome. I'm out here in my garden, and what you see here is an outdoor worm system that I run what I believe to be red wigglers in. You can see it's nothing more than two of those fabric grow bags, one nested within each other. And this system is now 143 days of age. And over the last 33 days, it's been following a process that I refer to as foraging, which means I don't give it any fresh food. I just let the system break down what exists in here already as far as leftovers go. And I guess the one thing that puts a twist into this is that it was, I don't even know, maybe a week ago, 10 days ago, something like that. The last time we checked in here just to see how things were progressing, we found that we couldn't even really breach this top surface. Everything was frozen. If you tried to reach around, everything was rock solid, frozen. And I finally used a metal tool to jab a hole into here, and I was able to chip away a hole, and I eventually excavated to the point where I found the inner portion of this was still not frozen, and that's where the worms were all hiding out, protecting themselves from the cold. And that just kind of put that just kind of put a real fear into me. And I just didn't want to see that happening to my worms. So, while I'm sure that the worms would survive, they're tough, I just wasn't certain that this stuff would not freeze, and I just didn't want to have that happen to the worms. So I took this container after that kind of close call scare incident, and I put it inside my stairwell that I've got off on the side here. It's the old stairwell that was used to access the upstairs apartment. That access to the apartment is now through an outdoor stairwell, and that original stairwell that came down from back here in the backyard up into the middle of the apartment upstairs is now just sealed off. So it's a set of stairs accessible from my backyard but leading to nowhere. And that gives me a little bit of storage for one or two items, and that's where this thing's been held up for the past few days. I think it was maybe 2 days, maybe 3 days after our last check-in that I came back in here, and I figured, with the really cold weather forecasted, it was probably best that I put these little guys inside. And I'm glad I did. Now this system is just continuing to break down, and the worms are working the material as opposed to just squeaking by and barely surviving and just huddling together to keep warm and stuff. Now they're I guess it's not as warm as the house in general. The stairwell is not heated, although one of the ducts that runs to the upstairs apartment runs through the stairwell, unusually. So I guess after it was converted into just dead space, it was used to route hot air up into the upstairs apartment. But other than that, it's just your typical stairwell. This is an apple, which has got to be going on 3 months now. And there was a kiwi too. There was this apple and this kiwi placed into the system at the same time, and for months now we've been bumping into those two items. And the kiwi, I could have possibly broken that last time I was in here. I was kind of in a panic, and I was a little bit worried about the worms. I thought they'd been frozen to death, and maybe in my haste of picking through here trying to see if there was any surviving worms, I might have torn that kiwi open and smeared it around the container. So it's probably been eaten by now. I don't see any signs of it, although I would think that we'd find its kind of outer skin or something maybe, but I'm not seeing it. As far as foraging goes, this system's still got a lot of leftovers in it. Everywhere you look, there's bedding, food, all kinds of stuff that these worms can continue working on. Oop, did we find the kiwi? I believe we did. It does look like the juicy inside of it has probably been either pouring out in liquid form or has been chewed out by worms crawling in to get it. But yeah, I guess just the breaching of its skin resulted in it being infiltrated at this point. So this stuff is really nice, but definitely still needs a good way to go before it can be considered as a finished batch of castings. And I'm glad that it's in a slightly warmer place now where it can actually continue to break down foods rather than have it all locked up in a hunk of ice. So now the outer edges of this system are a little bit dry by being next to the fabric. So if we collapse in this edge that's over here furthest from me, you can see the material is a little bit drier, but you know what? It's not even that bad, come to think of it. It all seems to have a pretty decent moisture level. I think the 2 bags, one within the other, helps a great deal in preserving the system's moisture, not letting it all just air out. And then you saw I've got a piece of plywood on top and there's just a piece of cardboard under it, but that probably helps a lot too. No moisture is going to pass through that piece of plywood. There's a lot of old stuff down here too, stuff that came in from the compost barrel when we originally populated this system. A lot of stuff that just came over from the compost barrel with the worms. Stuff that at some point will probably need to get sifted out of this material, because stuff like peanut shells, certain things just take a really long time to break down, and it might be stuff that's not really worth waiting for, you know. Just kind of get the good castings out of here, get the worms relocated to some other space to let them start working on a new batch of material. Who knows, maybe we'll move these guys inside too, like we did with the last batch of worms out of this system. Yeah, that last batch of worms that I bought indoors from the grow bag during the previous rendition of the grow bag are doing great. They're living in a bin of their own down there, and I'm even thinking about splitting that population, making them spread out over 2 systems. And I wonder how many worms we would get out of here if we were to do like a light separation and getting the worms out of their compost. I bet we'd have a few. I think we did kind of estimate the number of worms we'd collected on each occasion when we were populating this bin back during the summer. I think our estimate for how many worms populate this thing is in the 3,000 range, somewhere between 2,900 and 3,000, but that was months ago. Since then, they've all been mating and reproducing and expanding their numbers, and who knows, might have 4,000 worms in here. It's hard to say. Alright, I didn't want to feed, I just wanted to check in. It was sort of a scare situation last time we popped in here to find the container nearly frozen. Luckily, these worms were able to somehow maintain a section within the middle of the bin that did not freeze. And I don't know if they just got lucky or they were able to do that themselves and they would have been able to persist in that, or what the deal is, but I don't want to try it out again, and I don't want to test it to see if it is in fact that way. I just don't want to have that sort of thing happen again. So that's pretty much it for this check-in. 143-day-old outdoor worm bag, 33 days into its foraging now, with quite a bit more to go as far as I'm concerned before we can start considering this as a done batch of castings. So back into the stairwell with these guys, because I don't think I'll be keeping them outdoors. I want to keep them protected from the cold and keep them working, you know. And at some point we'll be able to move them out of here and get them working on a fresh batch of material. But for now, that's it for our little check-in with the outdoor worm bag, which is no longer an outdoor worm bag anymore. It's maybe it's on its way to being an indoor population of worms at some point soon. Who knows? We'll see. But that's it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel too. That's really appreciated as well. Alright, everyone, have a great day. Thanks for watching.